Welcome to the Dingersville Slum Club, where we discuss fine literature and drink beers and smoke inexpensive cigars, even though they taste very good. Today's episode will be discussing the non-fictional book by Mr. George Orwell, written in 1984, about the year 1984. We'll start off. John, have you read the book?
I listened to the audiobook version of it.
Yeah. Connor?
I read the book, yeah.
Will?
I'm an audiobook listener as well.
And I'm like halfway through the book.
I think this is a first for our club.
Where we've actually read a book that is considered fine literature.
And we've all read it.
So first for all things.
Yeah.
I actually never thought there was a chicken dick's chance we'd actually all have read a single book other than perhaps Dr. Seuss. Starting off, John. So this book is, from what I understand, it's based in a non-fictional setting. Do you have any challenges to this assumption?
What does nonfiction mean again?
Or, oh shit, dystopian. No, good start, boys. Is in a dystopian setting. Do you have any disputes?
No, I think it's pretty dystopian. It's a vision of a world in the future where things are pretty bad. You know, people don't have a lot of freedom, a lot of choice. They're just kind of ruled by dictatorship sort of thing. It's not good. I agree. It's dystopian. That's the opposite of utopian.
Right. Connor, what are your thoughts about dystopian books, period?
Dystopian books, period? I don't know. Honestly. I've read a few of them. I've read, like, the three, like, popular ones, like the Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451, in 1984.
Is that by the fat director? Michael Moore?
No, that's a different one. He was playing on that.
That's
title.
Supersize Me.
Oh, okay.
Dystopian future.
We all live in a McDonald's.
It's perhaps dystopian books are perhaps even worse than John Legend's song Imagine. Will, thoughts about dystopian novels? Are you a fan? Is it a genre you enjoy?
It's not typically a genre that I would enjoy or read out of enjoyment. The only one I've ever read is 1984.
All right. Well, we'll get into the character right away. Winston Smith is the man's name. Is that a name you think would actually be popular at that time? When was the book even written? Was it 1984?
No, it was way earlier than that.
I would say it was 50s.
Yeah, I think you're right.
1500s?
50s.
1850? 1950s.
Yeah.
No, it's not that far behind. But anyways, Winston Smith.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's out to lunch. Winston is not a name that would happen in 1984. Winston is an old-fashioned name, you know.
Yeah, like the guy.
I mean, Smith, sure, but Winston, no one's named Winston.
The guy is sauce.
Yeah, he's got like cankles and shit, and he's always scratching his...
He's got a cyst. It starts with, like... The book overall is just sauce. And Winston, like, it starts off with him, because it talks about him, like, limping because he has a fucking cyst on his ankle or something.
Yeah, and he can't fucking stretch and shit, and he's kind of that greasy age where, like, you're not like a good old person, but you're not a good young person. You're just kind of, like, this kind of cysty fucking middle-aged guy.
And he's spider. He's described as a spider.
Yeah.
Spider bod.
Tough look for Winston. Tough look for... Oh! Shit. Okay. Well, what can we just discuss about 1984? It's in London, right? Another shit city, I'm assuming. Connor, you've been to London. What do you think about London?
My impression, it was pretty nice, honestly. It was cool. It was old. First time in Europe.
Do you think the author George Well, do you think he anticipated the influx of East Indians that would come as immigrants to England, around the time of 1984. I'm guessing there was probably a serious chunk of Indian immigrants at that point.
Are you trying to say that that's like part of the symbology kind of written into the book itself? Is that it might be about immigration after all? Not even about government, it's just about immigration.
That is an interesting point. Because in the book, they're constantly at war with
Is it Eurasia?
Eurasia or East Asia? One of the two. That's part of the book too, where no one actually ever really knows.
They're the enemy, the foreign enemy.
And they're part of Oceania.
Oceania.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oceania.
Okay, let's get let's get to the real heart of the matter. Winston has sex multiple times in the book, with a broad named Julia, and do we know Julia's last name? Roberts? No.
Doesn't he also fornicate with a very old prostitute?
Yeah, he does.
I don't remember that. Really?
Yeah, it's in a dream or something. It really kind of creeps him out or something.
I don't know if it's a dream or it's something that he's
Yeah, she does.
ashamed of.
Right.
The sex thing in that was really weird, I thought, because it's like, have you guys ever read A Brave New World by Adolphus Huxley, I think that guy's name?
Yeah, Aldous.
Yeah, because there's big differences between 1984 and that book, because it's like in 1984, they control people by making them kind of these fascist robots, right? They like make them have no passions at all. Whereas in Brave New World, they make them, they enslave them through their passions, which I think is more realistic, but in Brave New World, it's like sex is outlawed, any passions, in 1984, sex is outlawed, passions are outlawed, people are like live for the state. It's kind of like Nazi Germany, really, or like, Imperial Japan or something. So people don't live for themselves or anything, they live for the state, which I think is kind of unrealistic.
Right.
If you're talking about a Western society turning into that, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, right. Where it's more of like there's an oppressor being the government against like these people's desires or whatever. Whereas Brave New World is like they're embracing the idea.
Yeah, like in Brave New World, it's like they play on people's passions. Like they what's the word? Take advantage of them, they exploit them or whatever, which makes sense because they're natural inborn things. Whereas in 1984, they like make this propaganda to make people these kind of ant-like, soulless servants of the state sort of thing, right? Which I don't think is that realistic. I mean, obviously it happens, it has happened before, but in a Western world, I can't see that ever happening.
It's like Rule from Fear in 1984, and yeah, it just seems less likely. I feel like it's like interesting there today where it's like people try and make like comparisons with 1984 all the time, saying how how the modern day is like 1984 and Big Brother watching us, and I get the the comparison, but you're right that I find Brave New World more compelling in that it's more like accurate in how kind of the system is able to control people through their passions. Yeah, because in Brave New World they're all willing participants in society, whereas in 1984, not really. They're only participating through fear.
Yeah, it's you always hear we're living in Orwellian times.
That's a big word. You hear it all the time in the news. Yeah,
Orwellian. Okay, well,
what's up with the focus on the book on bowels? Have you noticed that yet?
Bowels?
Bowels.
Like your shitter?
Yeah. And guts turning to ice and like just sauce. Again, sauce. Sauce involved in the
I've never picked that up.
Just pay attention because his bowels will turn to like...
You're right, there are a lot of bodily sort of reactions, like descriptions of like how the body would react.
It's disgust.
Yeah. And the way he does a good job of describing like really greasy fucking characters, like the Parsons guy who's always sweaty. You remember that guy?
And he's like
his neighbor or something.
And he's dumb. But he was like the leader of the boy.
Yeah, some fucking scout troop or something.
And he was allowed like a year or two to be overage, like surfing this like boy.
Do you think Orwell was a germaphobe?
Seems like it, doesn't.
A little bit. Like he puts a lot of description into the
Maybe he had like
mustiness of the and like the
creases of dust. And
you're right.
Face or some shit.
The bed bugs and shit. Remember, there's that room or whatever that they always go boinking in. The secret closet or whatever in the top. Let's get back to Julia. Yeah, and even he describes Julia in kind of like a way that like is not like that's
perfect.
Not great. It's like,
Like a
soft
tomboy.
white,
Ooh, that's
kind of pale body, and it's like.
But she's definitely hotter than Winston though. Like she's out of his league, really.
Yeah.
Right. That's how it describes it,
sounds
right?
like.
Yeah.
Is this like what they're like kind of like, oh, things are so bad, right? And he's never had it good his whole life, right? So it's like he's finally he's sort of like waking up, trying to aspire to a better life, even though there's no like even hope of it. And like Julius sort of like represents that, where she's just sort of like not even a catch, but it's just like
Something else.
Something to like.
Well, it's funny in the book. It's kind of they hint at it where initially there's like just zero. There's zero like emotion in the sex. It's just a purely like physical sort of act of rebellion.
Yeah, it's an act of rebellion. It's not even like for anything else than that. It's just an act of rebellion, right? Which is bizarre.
Yeah, totally. Like, I think it was like right when they met, they're like, "What do you think of me?" or some of that. And Winston's like, "I hated you. I wanted to rape you." And then she's just like laughing or something, right? And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, anyways, like maybe Orwell's a pretty twisted guy. Yeah, they went on some fucking grassy hill or something. I don't know. But yeah, and they talk about like the act of sex was just purely a political act or something like that. Pretty twisted.
Pretty messed up.
Was Orwell a pervert?
Almost certainly.
Do you think he? Do we know how old he was when he wrote the book? Was he around Winston's
97.
age? Oh, yeah, so he would have like been easier able to identify with Winston than he would have been with a young guy that would have been Julia's age.
Yeah.
But there's got to be, I mean, like, you got to assume there's like at least a 20-year difference between Winston and Julia.
Yeah, Winston's like middle age and she's like in her early 20s. That's the vibe I got, at least.
I mean, Orwell himself, he did some living and all that before he wrote the book.
Is that right?
He went to war and everything. He fought in the Spanish Civil War against the fascists.
Oh.
And
Fascisto.
did all some other things that I'm not really privy to myself. But he did some things. He wrote some other things.
Well, that's pretty cool.
I read his Road to Wigan Pier.
Well, what's that about?
It's about the coal miners in northern England and the horrible state of their working conditions at the time. It's just he's kind of like a journalist, basically living with a coal miner family, talking about the conditions there, and it's pretty brutal. He paints a picture. It's interesting you said that, like sort of the hygienic things going on in 1984, because he really does that in Road to Wigan Pier too. Just talking about how bad the the coal miners and their families had it.
Let's talk about something that I think is complete bullshit in the book, where the kids are kind of like the ones to rat out the parents or whatever. Like, they're so fucking like obsessed with the thought police, right? And they, to the point where they will like rat out their parents. And I just think that's complete bullshit. Like, in what world are kids more likely to basically rebel, like take sides with like a government rather than rebel against like parents? I just think it's just such a fucking far-fetched idea.
I don't think it's that far-fetched, because I think, didn't it happen in the communist Soviet Union, right? And it's kind of happening today too with the COVID police and all that stuff, right?
But like ratting out parents?
I mean, what kind of teenager likes their parents?
It's true, but what kind of teenager adores the government other than Greta?
Good point.
Right. Like,
It has happened though, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it seems less believable in 1984 just because there's no like really like the whole like Big Brother thing is like ideologically like shallow. Like it doesn't like it's sort of like authority for authority's sake. So people are like, oh, why would people like actually love Big Brother rather than simply be afraid of him? Because it's basically just the threat of violence that are keeping people in line. Like the entire book, like not that I remember there was any sort of like ideological thrust behind actually supporting the government in power there. But it's been a while since I read it. Do you guys remember? You know what I mean? Like, was there any like Big Brother propaganda where you were like, "Oh yeah, that's actually like convincing rhetoric"?
No, it was all kind of like fear based, wasn't it? It's like like in the end where Winston gets.
All right, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would say like those 3 lines that they like say everywhere, just like
freedom is peace, or
freedom is like slavery or some shit.
War is peace, and ignorance is strength, or something.
Yeah, some shit like that. And it's like all the 3 lines sound horrible. It's like, how is this convincing? Like, this sounds brutal. Like,
how would a government like that creep to that level of power? Would it be through just pure like takeover and pure takeover and propaganda, or would it be more of like a creep?
I feel like that one would be pure takeover.
Yeah, I haven't finished the book. Like, what actually happens? Did we know how they get to there?
We can't say. We can't spoil it for the viewers or you.
It's empty.
What's this for?
Gosh.
Oh, okay.
All right, here's a question I've just been dying to ask every single one of you. How do you guys feel when people say that 1984 is more relevant now than ever?
More relevant now than ever. The biggest thing that I think just contradicts it is like the whole amount of information available. Right? Like, because the guy Winston kind of, and the whole party, they want to like erase history, right? Or like rewrite history and completely control like the flow of information, stuff like that. I don't know. Like, sure, there's fact checkers and all this like bullshit that people are trying to attempt to kind of like restrain, or like kind of shutting down certain speakers and stuff like that on certain platforms. But there are so many different ways. Like, even think of them trying to cancel Trump on Twitter, where it's like, sure, you can cancel him on Twitter, like he's bigger than ever. Like you're not. There are uncancelable people, right? And I think that's kind of goes against the Orwellian idea where like they can actually like erase people, right?
Yeah, I mean, more relevant than ever. It's like, George Orwell was not a prophet; he was a writer who wrote a book, right? It's like what they say projection, right? You're projecting modern thoughts or your own thoughts onto something. It's
If you're a hammer, all you're gonna find are nails.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't find it like very like compelling or useful, especially in today's like political discourse. Like I think like there's, I don't know, like I think of it as like a distraction. The people that talk about this stuff are like the Dave Rubins, the Michael Knowles that we were talking about earlier, that sort of just have always been like really hard on the big government talk, like fear big government, when really like, and then there's this like corporatism that sneaks in the back door.
There's bigger fish to fry, you're saying.
Bigger fish to fry, exactly. So this whole like big government, Big Brother stuff, yeah, sure, there's definitely like things to worry about, but but the whole, I don't know, the whole like Big Brother analogy with modern day like issues is yeah, like I said, just kind of a distraction. It's the analogy just doesn't really work.
Well, what's your idea?
Of 1984?
or of it being more relevant than ever?
Yeah, just the most relevant thing I could think of is just like how like maybe like the telescreens in the book, how
Yeah.
they're always listening and watching, like that.
That's true.
That could be like a phone in the future. That's the way I see it. That was like the most relevant thing I noticed, because it's like everyone does have
That's good, yeah.
a phone or something from like a major company, and it's like if it did want to listen, like it could.
It could.
I'm sure.
And they do. Like everyone's got those stories where you start talking about a product and then the ad shows up like on your phone. Like they legit
Totally.
listen and everyone's cool with it.
Totally. Yeah, it's weird. It's like, yeah, you talk to somebody, yeah, I mean...
I still actually own a smartphone, you know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of sounds pathetic when I say it out loud. But
That's
I
a
do.
weird way to think of it, yeah. If you were Winston, what would you do differently? Will?
Fuck. I mean, it's not much he could have done differently. He was screwed from the beginning.
Why couldn't you just fucking leave?
Yeah, what I wonder is like, how did they stop you from becoming like a prole, whatever they call it in the book?
Yeah, like the...
It's like sounds chill being a prole.
Is that supposed to be like a proletariat?
A prole.
PRO.
Powers and the proles. Those are like the simpletons or whatever in the book that just like...
Not citizens of Ocean.
Yeah.
Ocean, yeah.
They don't work for the government.
But
Or they do work for government, but like in a different... Like, not an administrative role type of deal, but... No, this guy. Connor, anything you'd do differently?
I'd probably contact my local political representative and voice my frustrations. That way.
Jokes.
Same thing I would do now, you know. That's the only way to really get things done, is to just let your democracy speak for itself, you know.
John, anything?
Jeez, good question. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it.
Here's does democracy inevitably lead to some sort of totalitarian state?
Actually, I'd say about Winston, the thing that I would do is take better care of my body, because it sounds like his bod is just falling apart.
You'd go a little harder in those like mandatory exercise
morning
drills. Yeah,
Fucking swing your hips and
morning calisthenics.
fucking bending over and touching your toes and shit.
Just cracking yourself.
Actually, though,
If Julia Roberts or whatever in the book, if she was a real human, what do you imagine Julia to look like? When you read in the book, what did you think she looked? Who do you think she looked like?
Oh.
I imagined her being like a grown up redhead girl from Stranger Things.
11?
No, the redhead girl.
Mad Max.
Yeah, the old.
Yeesh.
really, redhead girl. Did they describe her as a
Barb.
Maybe that's
Her name's Max.
Is
Max. It's Max.
oh,
That's how I imagine an old version of that. I don't know why.
interesting. Connor.
I just always, I guess, still in my head, I'm just picturing like a meek brunette with a ponytail.
Isn't she supposed to be curvy?
I imagine a milked out Jennifer Lawrence with like a bobcat and dark hair.
Bobcat.
Bobcat.
Oh, bobcat.
Bob cut, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I imagine just a rocket Rachel McAdams.
I don't even know who Rachel McAdams is.
Hey, who is she again?
From the Notebook?
Yeah, from the Notebook.
A rocket, eh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
Just
didn't
like
imagine her.
Is she a redhead with a kind of a pug
No,
nose?
I think she had black or dark hair or something.
But you thought it sounded like she sounded rank, but in your imagination, you just imagine it as a babe.
Yeah, exactly.
You just went against like Orwell's like description. You're just like, I'm picturing.
If he's gonna make me an
I'm picturing
erotica
a
novel, I'm gonna run with it.
Yeah. How'd you picture the old prostitute then? Did you go against him there as well?
To be honest, I just remembered the old prostitute when you brought it up. But I do remember that scene because he kind of like, it's in the dark, right? And he kind of approaches her. And then he sees that she's kind of old and she's kind of missing teeth and shit.
Right! I remember that.
Right? Yeah. And
Was it a dream?
For some...
Did he really do it? Or was it like a flashback dream?
Maybe a flashback dream and it actually happened. But maybe, like, is that what he's trying to get at here in 1984? It's just like...
sex gone wild.
Yeah, like... just complete deviation in any sort of sexual fantasies that maybe he had himself.
To the point where you just want to be a robot.
Yeah, he just wants to fuck for the sake of political acts and just roast old prostitutes. I mean, he lived through the war. You can probably get some gnarly thoughts when they're out there alone.
Grandma lived through the war.
Yeah, but she wasn't a soldier. Well, any other thoughts, guys, before we wrap this up?
That's more than enough.
I mean, I think he kind of, the date wasn't really right. He was like saying it was like 1984, like predicting 1984 would be like that. Got it kind of wrong, I think.
Yeah, George Orwell don't know shit. He's not a fucking prophet.
Nope.
All right. Well, this concludes our review of 1984, written by George Orwell. And we want you to subscribe if you like the video. Give it the thumbs up. Share it. YouTube's trying to ban our algorithm. And we are the Donklesville Bunk Club, where we drink wine, drink beer, smoke cigars, and discuss fine literature. This actually is the first book that we've all at least partially read or listened to. So let us know in the comments what you like, and it won't ever be this good again. Okay, adios.